Okay, I think we're going. Hey, everybody, I'm Dan Adelko. Welcome to episode 43 of Live at the Hive.
And I'm Courtney Castle.
And I'm Matthew Chirilenko.
There you go.
Yeah, welcome to episode 43.
43, the Labor Day edition, we'd like to call it.
For sure, yeah.
Yeah.
I know you're all prepping for your long weekend plans. Hope you have something relaxing or exciting planned for the last weekend of the summer. But, or as I like to refer to it, the last weekend of the summer.
It is not the last weekend of the summer. That's a myth. It's like Christmas. The kids go to school on Tuesday.
There you go.
Yeah.
Someone's excited about it.
I think there's actually still like another 5 weeks of summer till actually fall, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like the third week of September.
Is
it's
it
like
the third
real
week? Yeah.
start of fall, but
There you
know.
go. There you go. So we're expecting that everyone's going to be half paying attention because Courtney and Matthew have certainly checked out. The tank is empty, folks. The tank is empty.
It's Friday. Give us a break.
Yeah.
It's Friday. We've had Matthew's been writing out a lot of graphic design this week. He's a well-deserved long weekend for Matthew. So
There you go. So kicking right off, since we got started a little bit late, sorry about that, but we were just fixing technical issues again. So where are we going to start, guys? What's the first topic on what's new in the world of marketing?
yeah, so we were chatting, giggling, discussing the first topic that's on our What's New agenda for today. And that is the fact that there's some light being brought to CGI influencers right now, because Facebook and Instagram have rolled out some features recently that they're calling security features that are, you've probably heard some things about Instagram having a new verification process and having a new about this account feature where you can now look at an account and it'll give you some information about it, like what year they signed up, are they engaged with any other brands, things like that, just so you can get a bit of background on them. But this has kind of brought to light the fact that there are fake CGI influencers out there. And so, Dan has up on the screen one example right in this particular article. But this is an influencer. She has, I believe, like 1.3 million.
How many followers?
1.3 million followers, I believe. They noted that she was featured in Vogue magazine this September, and she has a content deal with Nike currently. So yeah, we were just kind of discussing, as you can see from the image, Dan has his own thoughts on the quality of the CGI. But we just thought very interesting concept from a strategy and exactly what is it that they're trying, this company that has created her and is using her and selling her as a piece of digital artwork. It's like, what is the actual end goal for them?
Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, this is quite a bit of PR, a little bit of a stunt. If you actually go to, do you have the link to the actual Instagram profile? Yeah. Shoot, maybe throw it in Basecamp and we can pop it up there. Just looking at it, well, in terms of the quality of the CGI, I'm going to say like 2011, 2012 video game quality, like to be absolutely honest.
That's 100% what it reminded me of when I first saw it, is a slightly older video game, basically.
Or even like The Sims, kind of.
That is what we said. A couple of the images looks like a screenshot from The Sims.
Yeah, for sure. And if you actually, I'm going to flip over in a second as soon as I get the Instagram profile up, but at least half of the comments in the Instagram profile seem to be either incredibly confused over whether this is a robot, which it's not. It's just a CGI.
To be clear, not a robot.
Not a robot.
Digital artwork.
Yeah, so here we go. So as you can see, what would look to be a somewhat standard Instagram profile, except it is all complete. Even from a distance, you can see that it's completely not real.
Yeah, but with an average of Fito, say 75,000 engagements per post that she's making, the question at the end of the day is, with huge contracts with Nike and things like that, is it building a genuine audience, and like how worthwhile is that? And that's kind of at the key, or at the heart of the influencer marketing spectrum right now, is like, yes, you have these great influencers, the numbers are there, she has following, she has engagement, but how genuine is that? And to Dan's point, like a bulk of the comments are really just engagement driven by her and the conversation of like, what's her deal? Why was she created? And is she a real robot?
Yeah. There's actually some better CGI in here. If you look at this image versus some of the other ones with just the shading and the shadows and stuff. But really looking at it, 935 comments against 1.2 million or 1.4 million followers is actually a pretty low engagement rate. There's actually a really great article by Avanen Kaushik, he was one of the key people at Google Analytics for a really long time, talking about the ratio of followers to true engagement and then the quality of the engagement within those comments. This to me feels like a stunt by what were they called? Influential?
It's an agency. I believe they're in California. But yeah, it was an agency, and they create her, and they're kind of trying to spin it from the angle that she's more affordable for brands than an actual influencer, because you don't have to pay to fly someone out on set or anything like that.
Exactly.
So theoretically, I personally think it's just a company that's trying to capitalize on the influencer trend right now. It's probably in a nutshell. But I'm curious just to see like how far it would go and how good CGI could get. Like, could they actually trick me, like, into thinking she was real?
I think in a few years that would be the case for sure.
In which case, Matt you brought up a good point of like, would this replace like take a chunk out of modeling and things like that? If you could have,
because if Nike's doing it, they're buying some rights to her to use her in some of their catalogs.
She's in a Vogue spread, like a print spread.
She's already in Vogue and everything. This might.
So if you look at other characters that are completely fictitious, like Lara Croft as an example, right? So initially just a video game, and then represented by Angelina Jolie and a number of different actresses. Lara Croft does have actual character name recognition as well. So I could see that there's going to be a crossover for sure. I don't know about tricking people necessarily into that. But, if you were to look at like the video game industry, every single video game star, with Master Chief or
etc.
Yeah. Anyways, right now working there. But these characters can be influencers regardless of whether or not they're real. So it's a bit of a moot point. This to me feels a little strange. And it does feel like a PR stunt. And, getting on CNN is one thing, and having that all out there, good PR because maybe there's a good story behind it. But I don't think Kylie Jenner has anything to worry about, or other influencers right at this point, that's for sure. I mean, it's certainly interesting to see what's going on and what the fact that there are 1.4 million followers. But again, like I said, the one thing that I did notice was that a lot of the comments are confused, as opposed to being like, I love you, Lil Michaela. I guess that's what it is.
But yes, very much so, and that intrigues me, and that perhaps that's just part of their engagement strategy is they just want people to engage with them because they're curious. So.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, interesting. We'll see what happens with that. Feel like it'll be a fad that'll fizzle out pretty quickly, but we'll see where that goes.
Well, and moving on to the next one, this looks awfully familiar, since they ordered Domino's into the office today.
That was just coincidental.
So this is You want to cover the paving for pizza?
Yeah, we're kind of covering just some creative campaigns that are really popular at the moment. And that capitalize on some of these trends. In the past, in other episodes, we've talked about kind of the blending of PR and marketing. And this is a campaign that Domino's rolled out, and it did very well. It tested in about 5 states or so, and they've now rolled it out across America. And it's called Paving for Pizza. You can see the landing page that we're on right now has this, this like lovely content piece up here that's purely for entertainment. Probably capitalizing on the fact that people like their little engagement pieces, like their barometer and stuff. So they have this little interactive piece where you can see how damaged your pizza gets due to potholes. And the PR element is that they're trying to improve potholes across the United States, and then obviously tying it into the actual marketing element of it is if you scroll down the screen for them, you can see that it's actually about people. All the language on the page is about when you come in and pick up your pizza and you drive home, they don't want it to get ruined on you. So they're saying, it's all about pickup and everything. And then when you can nominate your town, you can see here it has other examples of towns they fixed potholes in. So it's a nice little surprise and delight for people. But at the end of the game, if you scroll all the way to the bottom, you'll see the end goal is they have a offer where they have carry-out deals for large pizzas for a promotion basically that they're picking back on, trying to promote people coming into the store.
Yeah.
So
I think the interesting thing here is that people love their pizza. And Domino's is ever since they rebranded and they revised their entire menu to use only natural ingredients a couple of years ago, and then they created what is a ongoing viral sensation, which is the pizza tracker, which everybody loves. I have it on my app too. I like to know when the pizza goes in the oven and when it comes
Yeah, we
out.
were using it today in the office when we ordered our pizza.
Yeah, the pizza tracker.
And a lot of other companies have mimicked it too now. Like I know Swiss Chalet uses it as well. A lot of the other pizza ones have their own version, but Domino's was the first of the gate, and everyone loved them for that. And yeah, they're just kind of like this, like we said, totally interactive, totally just playful, kind of showing this pizza. But at the same time, it's PR. It's elevating the deal and bringing that attention to the campaign indirectly, as opposed to just a promo that might say, pick up deal for $7.99.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and I think the other connective point here is that I don't think it matters what city that you live in. Potholes are an issue in every city across Canada and the United States. So it's something that people can instantly connect to and agree upon. Like nobody likes a pothole. Everybody likes pizza. Or not everybody, but a lot of people like pizza. And then just seeing it is engaging. It's a great campaign. And it's one of those things where they're also, they get a little bit of a social conscience here, is that they in fact want to help fix the pothole problem.
For sure.
Right? So, you get a little bit of social good out of there and then see what they did to fix it. So, it's a great little campaign, and Domino's has really been doing a great job, I think, over the last couple of years with a lot of their stuff. So I guess the the takeaway is connecting real world problems with the product, and this pizza is unfortunately a victim of that issue, but they're trying to help out in a sense, right, by nominating the town and potentially, I guess, providing some solution there.
Yeah, but I like the campaign just because I feel like it hits all of the numbers. It's like it has the creativity aspect, it has an interactive content aspect, there's the giving back, the social awareness aspect of it as well, and yet it all comes down to an actual metric too of sales for in stores. So it's not just like a cutesy thing, it is directly related. So obviously it's working for them if they rolled it out to the entire country, so we'll see what happens.
Yep. And then on the another topic of interesting marketing offers. Oops.
This one's really interesting.
Yeah, I thought this was curious. Even though it's the UK brand, I thought we'd still discuss it a bit today on our topic of creative campaigns that we're covering.
Well, this is new. Ad Age is making us register before, so they're gating. Well, you know what? We're happy to do that.
While Dan's ungating this article.
Let me ungate the content.
But yeah, basically Match.com, specifically a campaign they've rolled out to the UK, is that they've, obviously a dating service, they've offered to single parents free babysitting. So find that very creative, very interesting, for obvious reasons why they are doing it, in that, they want these single parents using their dating site and actually going out. And perhaps through surveys, I would guess, or some sort of evaluation mechanism, they've discovered that a lot of people weren't actually doing it because of lack of time or because of their kids.
Yeah, so I guess they found a whole new target market niche to advertise this to, because
This
there are
is
a lot of
not
single
letting you
people
do
out
it,
there
eh?
looking out.
This is literally a lesson in really terrible conversion rate optimization. Talk about putting up a wall in front of someone just trying to read the content. I'm on step 3 of 7 here. Hold on one sec.
But yeah, I thought that, I don't know how they would have calculated, or if they work with some sort of agency or something like that to offer these free babysitting services. I'm kind of curious about the logistics of it and the price point.
Yeah, because
But from a strategy perspective, I think it's really smart.
Well, from the point of view of the value of a paying customer in the online dating space, certainly as a whole, the number of the value that Match.com would get out of both PR and the amount that people pay on these dating sites, I can't see it being anything. It might cut it a little bit, but the value of getting all of that business in there would definitely be worth it. And Match is a huge company, so definitely a cool idea.
For sure. And like I said, hopefully through some sort of valuation, they came that was a huge untapped market, and that either people signing up they were probably losing people, like not activating them
Yeah.
because they just didn't have the time to do it because of their kids. Or there's a whole market of people who just haven't signed up at all because of that, because that's their immediate thought is, well, I didn't have time for that. I have kids.
Yep.
So very interesting, and I think that it'll work probably fairly well for them, and we'll see if other sites try to mimic that kind of a strategy. But
I wonder how many more
yeah.
people are going to be engaged with this, the Match.com, because that should be a struggle being a single parent, having kids, and you're out there trying to be in the day life again. The struggle of getting someone to babysit and then going out physically rather than just using the app and someone being available there to babysit your kid. I think that's pretty cool.
Well, the other thing too
From
is
that
that that's from a business perspective, those are the monetizable customers, right? So single parent with children, where do you go meet people? Well, you go
Exactly.
to Match.com. They're going to be the ones that are going to be willing to upgrade to premium accounts. They're going to be the ones that will be highly active, as opposed to people that would just be, whatever, Tinder style, like
Exactly.
younger. So yeah, it's definitely a very creative way of both getting PR out there, providing value, and then looking at your core customer who you can monetize on a regular basis. That's kind of like their North Star, right? That's their ideal customer for sure. Cool. Okay.
Yeah, definitely, and you could definitely see like just the difference in the strategy for them, like they just said, in terms of the target audience.
Yeah.
Completely different if it's like Tinder, Bumble, all that kind of stuff. Someone who's not looking to invest money in it and is just more doing it for, casually,
Yeah.
entertainment's sake.
It
and
also shows the
yeah.
seriousness of like Match.com. Like they're molding their company around people that have a harder time using the app.
Yep. And Match has done a lot in terms of
Yeah.
talking about people getting married versus Tinder, which is hooking up and just
Yeah.
dating. Anyhow,
What
enough
I
of
meant saying
that.
on Tinder.
Stacey Mosier is watching. She's out west. How are things out there, Stacey? Good to see you. So moving right along, I'm just going to jump to this one. This is actually a really great feature for Google Ads right now. The ad strength indicator for your AdWords campaigns, or your Google Ads campaigns, I should say. Again, helping kind of clarify, because that quality score indicator that used to be there, or that is still there, is in fact quite vague in terms, you have to kind of guess at what your own issues might be. So some of the new tools rolling out, in fact, make it a little bit clearer what you should be doing. And there's right there on the screen, you can see an example of that.
Yeah, so when people, quality score in the past would give you a rank from 1 to 10, and it might give you like a couple, vague kind of things like, oh, you need to, your keywords aren't optimized enough, you need to update this. So it's very high level, does not give you like a specific, what do you actually need to fix. So like Dan said, I think second, it's kind of their new iteration of that.
Yeah. So you want to absolutely take this advice here, like unique headlines, for example, just unique descriptions, and then they'll also give you ideas, which is something we build CTA libraries, so that we know what is working and what's effective and what gets us a good quality score. And then as a fallout is your ad rank. Those are the two metrics. Quality score helps determine your ad rank, which will then determine whether or not you're going to be able to show up in those positions at all, or where you will be against your competitors, right? So again, another really good feature from the big Google.
Yeah, and I think on another level that in this new rollout that Google has been doing is that the self-serve model is that they want to try to help people who aren't necessarily experts like we aren't necessarily living in PPC or doing it as a profession. They want you to get better results so they can get more people using it. Because very commonly as an agency, we hear people say, oh, I tried Google Ads or AdWords as it used to be, and it didn't work. And that's a very common statement, and it's that the platform is a very complex, in-depth platform, and they're simply trying to make it as user-friendly as possible. So the new smart campaigns that they've rolled out, and now this new more detailed metric, just so that someone who's not necessarily professional can still get the results they want.
Oh, for sure. And even regardless, more information is better even for us, right? Like we said before, Google wouldn't actually identify where you could improve. They just told you that your quality score needed to improve, and then you would have to run through the entire thing to see what would be needed to be improved. So interesting sidebar. Literally every site that we use every week for some of these references have thrown up a paywall on Labor Day weekend, a registration wall, which is becoming more and more common, but it looks like it's either a group of companies has rolled this out. This is a third site that I've been to that has thrown this up. And once again, this is like literally the killer. They're trying to monetize and figure out other ways to monetize their existence, but this is not the way to do it. These paywalls that are so obtrusive, registering for every single site, and then going through this massive, if this is anything like the last one, it's going to be another 2 screens of set up your profile and no thanks.
Yeah.
For sure, yeah. And I've seen other ones used better that are like, perhaps they have it where it's like you get, 3 free articles a week or whatever, and then at that point it becomes gated. But don't give people nothing. Not even let them read the first article and then ask them for content. Still a sidebar, but as a content marketer, I don't know if I want to give you my information for your article if I don't know it's a good article.
Yeah, and it's a difference if it's the New York Times, which is a storied publication, versus Marketing Week, which is okay. No offense, but but they scrape a lot of they do scrape a lot of content from other sources. I'm just saying. Anyways, moving right along. GDPR 3 months on. Do most consumers feel better off? No. The big green part is actually no. I feel no better. Yeah, and this is pretty typical with all of these types of legislations and things like that. I think more than anything, I know GDPR has been built for the consumer, but really what it is government being able to control a little bit more of what Google and Facebook and some of the big players are doing with data and information. So I kind of don't even know if it matters that people feel better. That the European, it's true. Because people don't, it's
care.
It's clear that, well, it is. It's kind of clear that people don't care, right? Because after all of the stuff that happened with Facebook, user engagement actually has gone up on Facebook.
Yeah, they've been watching those metrics up like for a while, and they've been trying to wait for that big dip to happen that never really did.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the interesting thing about this, I think a lot of the stats in this article were kind of as you would expect, a lot of splits down the middle with people being like, I'm not sure if it's better, maybe it kind of is. But the thing that I found more interesting was that it said like 57%, about half of people felt that they were more aware of how their information was being used. And I think that like at the bottom line of GDPR, that's kind of the point, is that when you're giving someone your information, how are they actually going to use it? So I see that as probably like the positive takeaway from this survey that they did, in that's good. We want people to know how we're using their information. You want them to feel secure in that sense. There's some surveys in here where people said they think that companies are still just completely disregarding GDPR, which a lot of them probably are. But yeah,
I think some are definitely ignoring it completely. Some publications in the United States have literally geo-blocked all of the EU, which again, it doesn't matter because if there's a European anywhere else in the world, the GDPR still applies to them. But again, I think, I know that the GDPR was billed as consumer protection, but I really think that the key to GDPR is actually the data processor monitoring by the government because of what happened, right? So that the government can keep checks on a Facebook for what type of data they're employing, because 90% of almost everything that Facebook was doing was actually in their terms of service, but nobody, I don't know, when was the last time you checked that little box? Little box is about this big, and then it's got like 20 pages of stuff in it, and you say like, I agree, and you go.
Everyone just scrolls through and
no one's reading that.
No one's reading that stuff, and all of those things were in the terms of service. So
sorry to the lawyer who's writing that, but no one's reading it.
No one's reading it, and that was in part what Zuckerberg said when he was in front of Congress too. So in a way, the GDPR is yes, that they're billing it as making consumers protecting them, but I think it's a lot more of being able to monitor the data processors, the people that are really processing that data and what they're allowed to do with it over the long term, which is a good thing fundamentally.
For sure.
There you go. All right.
Awesome. So the verdict is GDPR. A lot of hype.
GDPR is the GDPR. It's just like yet another regulation. Can spam in the States, CASL in Canada, GDPR in the EU. There'll be another 4-letter acronym that they come out with, and more regulations. And then we basically have to add another checkbox.
Good stuff.
There you go.
So
it
you don't
is.
have a checkbox on your forms, add that checkbox.
You should really do that.
That's the tip, the GDPR tip of the day.
That's right.
If you hadn't added it in the last 3 months, go and add it
Well,
next week, please.
It's already 4:49. I don't know how much we're going to talk about seasonal stuff today.
We can segue into it, or that's our what's working. That's our
Yeah, we
what's
can
new.
do a few minutes on it. I just wanted to add one more thing here that came out the other week, rolled out en masse, and it kind of interesting, something to really, really consider is Spotify Ad Studio and Spotify Ads. You can now create your own audio ads in the Spotify Ad Studio and then have them play within free users, music playlists. So you can, what?
I know what you meant. It's okay. No, it makes sense.
I'm going home.
Very interesting.
I'm walking off the set. No, just joking.
Diva.
Diva. Yeah, no, it's really cool. So radio's expensive. This is really an interesting addition. If you've got a podcast, or if you're potentially a musician, but you know what, you can hit your consumers where they'd be listening. A really interesting and low-cost way to get into a different type of medium, for sure. Spotify does have an excellent footprint of users. Not to mention the fact that although Spotify still doesn't make money, I don't know that makes a difference, but they have signed a number of deals with PlayStation, for example. So Spotify is built into PlayStation,
Cool.
and a number of other platforms. So you think about the reach that you can possibly get for your product or your brand. Definitely something to look at, and something that I think is probably non-obvious to a lot of people, for sure.
Yeah, and I think that's interesting because like being in both traditional and digital marketing, it's kind of a best of both worlds in that it has the budget friendliness of the digital space, but it has the attentiveness of radio, which is still one of radio's biggest advantages is the people are listening, right? As opposed to a visual ad where you might have 7 screens up at once and you're not even looking at that ad, but it's playing anyway. If you're listening to your Spotify music, and an ad comes on and plays, don't know what the functionality of the ad will be and things like that. Hopefully it's not like they don't make mid-roll mistakes and stuff like others have. But yeah, very excited and interesting to test that out.
Yeah, and the Ad Studio gives you tools, like production tools. So even if you don't have audio experience, you can log in here, use the tools, and use some of the footage and other things that they've got available to build out your ad. So definitely worth something to try. Kicking into the fourth quarter and talking about seasonal campaigns, this would definitely be a way to get brand awareness increase as a part of your omni-channel plans for the fall.
Yeah, and coincidentally, Pandora, another large music app, also rolled out some new ad features in their ad offering as well, where they have mimicked a very similar thing, coincidentally at the same time, where you can also have shortened, more personalized ads within that platform as well.
Yep.
So definitely a trend coming across all of the music apps.
Yeah, it's interesting. I have not really thought of Pandora as a thing for a really long time, but I admit that it is still a thing. It's just not for me. I haven't used Pandora in years.
I use the YouTube app now, so I don't know what to tell you.
Oh boy, look at that. Doing things the old way.
No, the new app they came out with.
Yes, YouTube. What, YouTube Music?
Yeah.
Yeah, YouTube Music. That was actually, YouTube Music was brought to you, but there used to be a really cool startup called Bands in Town. I don't know if you've ever heard of them. That was actually really cool when they would notify you of new bands, and they would give you related bands and things like that. That got folded up, and that's the YouTube Music team. There you go. Acquihire.
Now you know.
Now
We should have
the more you know. Yeah, but again, consider streaming audio as a place to expand your digital marketing efforts. These are all really new offerings, and so again, being a first adopter, getting in there first, getting in there early, testing and seeing how it works can do nothing but benefit you in the long run. That's
sure.
absolutely for sure.
For sure.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, it is 4:53.
What do your producer? You make the call?
I don't know. What do you want to talk about?
The lizard people.
Do we have
Lizard people. All right, we can talk about the lizard people if you want.
skipping right over seasonal marketing and going into lizard people?
No,
It's a hot topic.
Well, it's actually the reptilians. Do you want to spot the reptilians running the U.S. government?
All right,
dun,
take
dun.
your segment away here, Dan.
No. That was Matthew's idea. That was Matthew's idea.
I thought he was being serious.
So what do we? I'll do it. Okay, no, let's talk a little bit of seasonal marketing, but I would say we would probably just breeze over it. What did you have on that agenda?
No, we just wanted to discuss a bit. So, and for a roundtable topic, as we head into September and out of August into what we like to call its holiday season, just wanted to kind of give some people some tips in terms of you're heading into the your last quarter, you're heading into the end of the year, and you want to put that plan together for what are you going to do September, October, right up till Christmas.
Yeah, I would think the first thing that you should do, given that there's a lot of activity that happens from September through to December, is to really map it out. Plan all of these different events. Obviously, back to school, everybody comes back and kind of gets back to work. There's a lot of planning there, but you have Thanksgiving in Canada, then Thanksgiving in the States. And then obviously with that, you've got Black Friday,
Cyber Monday,
which is now a week, 2 weeks because of Amazon, which happened last year, and they did it effectively. So you've got these opportunities where people are coming back, then Halloween, and then obviously the big run up to Christmas. But I think the one key takeaway is, looking at Spotify and Pandora ads like we just were, is don't leave it till the end of September to start planning Christmas, for example. Hopefully you've already begun that process. But you definitely want to have that fourth quarter mapped out, because as things get rolling, it gets very competitive out there, things get very busy, and December is effectively a write-off on a number of levels for a lot of people. It's basically half a month, so you have to be locked and loaded and ready to go right through to the new year effectively.
For sure.
So.
Yeah, and basically, I know everyone is thinking long weekend mode, but maybe next week when you get back, put pen to paper, whether you use, Excel spreadsheet for your planning, or whether you use a more formal planning tool like Tom's Planner to create a Gantt chart for yourself. Block out the holidays ahead of time. The next 4 months, what holidays are coming, whether it's even things like back to school or even fall and like other seasonal creativity opportunities. Matt can attest to, to get out of that box of your regular creative, look for ideas and things like that as well. And then plug in anything else that, maybe you have a product rollout or anything else that's on your own kind of list. And you'll see that your chart for the next, 4 months will come together fairly quickly. And you'll have a pretty solid roadmap that'll lead you through right until 2019. Yeah,
it's a little depressing being a marketer because, it's still summer. It's the Friday before Labor Day weekend, and we're talking about like the new year. January. But that is how you have to think. You have to think basically like at least 3 months ahead, if not more. At the beginning of summer, for us, for example, it's football season. Because of some of the industries that we work in, and that really does start. If we're not hitting the ground in May, if we start in June, we're really, really pushing it, right? So same idea, same concept. You should be trying to think 3 months ahead, at least planning things out so you can get kicked off well before and be fully prepared for the heavy times of the season. Because if you're doing it on the fly and trying to figure that out, mistakes will happen and stress levels will increase.
Yeah, and it's just a good thing to do to not miss any opportunities as well. Like obviously it's an ideal thing to be that far out in your planning, but realistically in the real world, everyone's busy and it's not always, possible. But if you look at all of your opportunities for the next few months, you can decide what you do have time for and what you don't. And make sure that, for instance, not even just the regular holidays we all know about, but like days and things like that. Like for instance, it's honey month in September, and being honeypot marketing, you might see some special things from us coming up next month. But if we didn't know that and didn't look ahead of time, we couldn't even have the chance to consider that. So just look at your strategy. It doesn't have to be a big time consuming thing, and just plot out what your campaigns are going to be moving through the seasons.
That's right. All right, everybody, it's 4:58 Friday afternoon, Labor Day weekend. I hope you're holding it together. You're probably not even there anymore. You're probably watching this on rebroadcast on Monday or Tuesday at work.
Well, we're getting likes.
Definitively the saddest day of the year is Tuesday after Labor Day. People are like, oh, it's all over, man. All the long weekends are done.
No. People are liking. They're sending us love,
There
and
we
they're
go.
sending us angry face. I don't know who that was, but I'm
We're
sorry.
talking about Tuesday morning already.
Sorry.
It hasn't even started yet. I actually am the worst for that. When I go on vacation the first day, I'm like, oh man, there's only 7 days left.
You're that
I am that
guy.
guy. I can't help it. And now
Lucky Nicole.
my son is exactly like that, Jax.
Good stuff.
All right, guys. All right, everybody. Well, enjoy your Labor Day long weekend. We will see you back here next week for episode 44, and a much tighter schedule next week, I'm sure.
Yeah, and tune in next week for some special stuff happening in September.
Nice.
That's all I'm gonna say.
Big surprise is coming. Have a great weekend.